afternoon. So I thought I would drop in early this afternoon to do our tarot teaching moment because at 4:30 I have an appointment to get a new tattoo, which is really exciting. So once I get my tattoo done, I'll post a picture in the group tonight so you guys can see what I'm getting done. I'm really excited because this tattoo has layers of meaning for me, and I think it will for the rest of my life. It's one of those profound tattoos, so I'm really excited to get it. This is a cool thing with all my work that I do have. When I say work, I'm speaking of my tattoos because I have so many I lost count. I stopped keeping count a long time ago. With each tattoo, it has a memory. It may have a meaning attached to it. So I think I'm gonna probably be one of the many tattoo people when I become an elder, who will be probably telling the younger people a story when it comes to my tattoos. So yeah. And plus, the whole point to life is not to die unscathed by life. But I think I remember an analogy to go sliding into the coffin all beat up. Which it actually reminds me, I actually had one of my elders I took care of the other day in her 90s. I don't cover my tattoos for work anymore. Honestly, I work too hard and I sweat to death. So the less layers, the better under my uniform. And most people show their tattoos anyway, which is a cool evolution to even years ago. I remember there was more pressure to keep them covered. But anyhow, this little elderly lady looked at me. And she's like, wow, you're all beat up looking. When she saw my tattoos, which I have on my forearms. And then she got to quizzing me about, are you married? How many kids do you have? Kind of thing. My elders don't offend me or anything crazy like that. The downside to taking care of people who are older like that, because this is very taboo for women to have tattoos and they're from their generation. It does distract from their care. I like to talk about why they're there and what I'm doing so that they feel safe and knowledgeable about their care. So even though I'll cut up with them for a little bit because I enjoy making people smile and laugh, I do not want the focus to remain on my artwork. But it definitely is part of who I am, and it's led to some interesting conversations, that's for sure. So we're about to delve into the Eight of Pentacles. So I'm going to hold this guy up. And so, as always, kind of observe what the central figure is doing and what's in the background, the predominant color use, your initial impressions of this card. And if it's one that makes you comfortable, uncomfortable, maybe neutral, because again, you're tapping into your intuition, which is what makes you unique from, say, any other tarot card reader. The way you see this may differ from, say, me or somebody else, and that's perfectly okay. We all add a little bit of flavor to tarot. And that's what I love about our group is when we've had other readers read for our group, you're seeing different styles and different ways of interpretation. That's the beauty. And there's no hard set rules to tarot either. So I think that's cool to always point out. So here is the Roman numeral for 8. And so what we see pictured here is a man, even though we know that sex doesn't matter in tarot. We're talking about the energy. And he's very much focused. Okay, so here he is. Okay, so he is right-handed, and so he is just using that hammer in his right hand to kind of make a pentacle here. And it seems to me like he's been awfully busy because you see all the pentacles that are hanging up. There's even one by his feet there. So a common expression used for this card is it is known as, say, the Apprentice card. This is somebody who is entering into like a new stage in life. So this could be somebody going back to school or starting a new career, advancing within their career, and they're really fine-tuning their craft. And so this is repetition. But instead of it being interpreted as like a very tedious, boring endeavor, it is not whatsoever. This person is fully, like just totally in their element. You could see there's like a castle or village in the background, and you see that the path to it looks like it's really far away. So this person went out of their way to seek solitude so that there were no other distractions, so that they could focus on their craft and get really good at it, right? So what we're talking about in general is, say, for example, with love or with platonic friendships, this is somebody who's putting in the consistent time, effort, and resources to really build on that relationship. And they're giving in that steady, continuous effort, which was similar to the card that we reviewed last night. One of the big differences between the 7 and the 8, with the 7, if you haven't watched it from last night, feel free to do so. Look at the expression there. So just very fatigued, a little kind of uncertain, still kind of on that learning curve. It's up for debate whether or not this person is happy with the fruit that bush bore him. With this one, we are seeing somebody very confident and self-assured. Okay, very resilient. So that's the difference here. And even though it's not like he's like necessarily like a big tooth grin or anything, it's not a flat line for his mouth. There's a curvature to it, like maybe a little smirk. And looking down, and again, very much having that passion. We've got that red, very passion, at peace. This person doesn't want to be anywhere else than where they currently are. And that is just engaged with their work. And that's why I tell a lot of people, whatever they choose to do, say professionally, I even tell my own kids this, it doesn't matter if it's the highest paying job or the one with the most status as deemed per society. What I want for my children to know that they each have their own talents, and that I will support them no matter what, as long as whatever they do in life does not harm themselves or other people. Whether that be, you know, being an artist or whatever path they choose to go down in life, I'm going to support that. You know, and I've explained to them, we spend most of our lives working. So why not do something where you can make sufficient income to pay your bills and support yourself, but then be very happy engaged in the work you do, you know? Hi, Rebecca. I see you hopped on. Good afternoon. Now, kind of like a caveat to this awesome energy is because this person's so focused and immersed in their work, and through that repetition and consistency, getting it right and getting better every time, right? And having that forward progression, they're away from the castle or the village. So the people in this person's life might be feeling a little neglected or not really, you know, getting the attention that they wish that they could have because this person's so immersed in their work. Or this could also take the form, when we're talking earthly things, whether it be your work, hobbies, it could be other friendships or what have you that takes you away from, say, other people. And they can feel a bit resented and neglected from that. What this card can also show us is, say somebody's doing so well at work, they keep getting additional responsibilities added to their plate because whoever their supervisor is feels that this person is very hardworking and capable, thorough, intelligent, to where they know the work will get done. That's one of the bad things about being successful, is that you keep theoretically adding pentacles to your plate, right? Well, what that does, though, is you got to be careful, because if you keep picking up pentacle after pentacle and you still have those high standards to where the bar is high, to where you want to do exceptional work, it's going to further take you away from the people you care about in your life, which define your life, would be your support system. It's our families and friends and so forth, our communities. That's what defines a life. Our work is awesome too. Everybody wants to leave something behind in life to where they can be proud of it. I definitely think family is one of those things. but in their work or in their art or something, or like if they write, like as an author to be published, it's a big deal, right? However, there's a balance to be had, because like we've covered in other past go lives, there's a cost. So whenever you take things on in life, as exciting as they may be, recognize there has to be an equal energy exchange. For everything that we are given, there has to be something we give back. You have, again, that energy exchange. Because when you think of the number 8, we are again referencing the infinity symbol. So again, we have that continual cycle of give and take, that steady exchange of energy. And again, we have to maintain a balance to where our figure 8 is nice and even, not this and it goes way wide and then a little here and then way wide. The number 8 is cyclical. And per Rachel Pollack, per her Tarot Wisdom book, she worded it beautifully. So when we're dealing with the 4s, we always say stable like a table. But being that this is 8, so 4 times 2 is 8. So we have a heightened awareness in 8 that we did not have with 4, even though when we had that stability, the stable like a table, this is more evolved. And again, like she worded it, heightened awareness. I thought that was a really great way of she worded it. And then with finances, it's somebody that's consistently putting in that work, just like last night when we talked about our 7, that nice, steady, consistent effort to obtain a long-term goal. This person is still on that trajectory of those long-term goals. And really, I think, let me look at what I've written down here to make sure that I've went over everything. So let's see here. With finances, we are, okay, so this could also be quite literally money for hard work. So here it could show that somebody's really been putting in the time and effort and they're getting the financial rewards from that. So it may show that they might use some of that money, okay, but they're going to put the rest of it into savings or investing it, right? So some descriptors here. So again, we call this card, it can be known as the apprentice card. Again, somebody who's obtaining education, gaining a new qualification, advancing within their career, that type of thing. And we had reviewed the shape of the number 8, how essentially it's conserving energy. Again, equal exchange, right? Nice, steady, equal exchange. So other descriptors would be stability, satisfaction, continued steady work, and appreciation of our effort. So for here, this person is totally in their element and loving life and doing what they love doing, and they're seeing good outcomes. Versus last night, again, it was up in the air whether this person was happy with their work or not. So that was one big thing that differentiated the 7 from the 8. Hi, Alicia. Welcome. See here. So we have repetitious work. So that's stability in a world of action. I really like the way that's worded. So again, this is not tedious or boring. This is somebody who they found their mojo. They are very much in their element. They are perfecting his or her craft. Hardworking, dedicated, craftsmanship, high standards, mastery, commitment, dedication, and accomplishment. So in life, when people get these stereotypical things society tells us that we're supposed to have, nice home, car, vice versa, from a society's point of view, that's what people have to show for their work. But I would challenge you, when you think about the value of a life, think about the time that when we're elders, say when we're up in our 80s to 90s and we've got our grandkids, that we're talking to. What do we want to remember about the life that we lived? And how will we define that life? I don't think it's going to matter what kind of house or car that we live in or drive. I would say in sharp contrast, it's going to be the memories and the time that we have while we're here with the people we love and care about. I get that work and hobbies and everything we love and hold dear, it does have value because you got to love what you do. However, again, one of the shadows to this card is make sure that, again, like the figure 8, like the infinity symbol, a balance is being had between, say, the people you love and care about and the work you do, right? So with love, we're looking at literally investing into a relationship, consistent efforts. With career, it's more responsibilities. So that, I mean, yeah, you can put it on your resume and continue to get pay increases and possibly advance. But keep in mind, and again, that shadow side of this card, it's okay to say no. You know, and you don't have to feel like you have to explain yourself to others when you say no. No just simply means no, you know. The only person you really are accountable for is, say, yourself and, say, of course, your immediate family, the people who depend on you. You don't need to explain yourself to other people, you know. And with finances, we touched upon it. It's literally the money you can make from, like, your hard work, you know. Now we're about to go into, say, the reversal energy. And like I always tell people, they should not feel obliged to read reversals. For many readers, it does not resonate with them, so they simply don't do it. One thing I commonly have heard is a lot of people will be like, there's enough negativity in life. Why am I going to invite it in my tarot reading? So I say just do what resonates with you and leave the rest. So I only put this out there for people who are interested and maybe kind of assessing what it means. So when this card's in reverse, we're generally speaking, we're talking about, generally speaking, the opposite meaning of the card. Now, it could also delve into the extreme meaning of the upright meaning. So for this card, it would be perfectionism. So even though when this guy is upright, there's a lot of beautiful work, it looks to be consistent. And they're very happy with that steady, continual progress. They're still being very focused, very realistic, and keeping that standard of work, right? Well, when it's in reverse, let's say they're meeting that. Their work is beautiful. They're meeting their quotas or whatever. But they're so just a perfectionist that they look for the slightest defect in their work. And so then they get frustrated and burnt out, and they keep working harder and harder, and their work can suffer too, because again, we only have so much energy in one day. Just think of our energy like a gas tank or a cup that's filled with, say, water, and you only have a certain amount of it. Well, how are you going to spend it throughout the day? And how are you going to start off the next day without starting with just half a tank of gas or a half-filled glass of water? And what ways do you keep your cup full? Because if we don't tend to ourselves, we can't take care of other people. So you have to make yourself a priority in life, or else nobody will, you know, unfortunately. So we would be seeing some frustration. This could be a card showing somebody needs to, like, change things up. So say with a relationship, when it's upright, both parties are putting in the consistent effort to be with each other and make that relationship work. They're also doing the hard work. So both of them work together to, say, raise a garden, do yard work, to come together and combine their money to pay the bills, to buy a house. And you know, I'm just throwing out some examples, but it's a team effort. When it's in reverse, there could be one person pouring in all this time and energy, but the person they're in the relationship with, whether it be romantic or platonic, is just not doing that, and the relationship will suffer, you know. It could also reflect that finances could be struggling a little bit too, despite somebody putting in a lot of hours working. It could show that they're not getting the money that would be, compensate or equivalent to what they're doing. So it might mean that they might want to look for another job. Another way of looking at this is if there's no advancement opportunities where you work, They don't really support you advancing or supporting you with paying for school and this and that. Maybe it's not the best place for you, and you have to really objectively evaluate that. Whether it be a reading for yourself or somebody you're reading for, that kind of opens that can of worms to having that conversation of if that job's really good for them or not. And if not, just kind of, ask the person some questions. Well, what would make you happy? What would your ideal life look like, And with finances, it could also mean frivolous spending. So this is somebody who's not, say, putting their pentacles up and investing and saving and being very just thoughtful before they spend. And, down here, just taking the one down to maybe use that day. Instead, we've got somebody you're literally thinking of these pentacles just falling down from the force of gravity, right? So they're spending without giving it much forethought. This also could mean getting back to work. This is somebody who's not working hard, maybe being a little lazy, not showing initiative. These would generally be people who would be like, I totally get boundary setting, but it'd be somebody who might say a lot. That's not my job. I don't care. I'm just here for my paycheck. When you hear people when they're checked out, what I hear from that is they're burnt out. They don't have anything left to give. They're literally there for a paycheck. So they may need to look into, again, switching things up, Let's see here. Feeling trapped. So that kind of touches back to just showing up for a paycheck or just staying in a relationship because it's just what you do. Especially if you have investments together. It's hard to walk away from that, from a life that two people work together to build up. And then if it's not working, besides the heartbreak, it's the, kind of like separating assets. That's not an easy thing, It's a rush job. Again, the standards are lower with it being in reverse. Bad reputation, neglecting relationships. So that kind of goes back to that we don't have that equal balance like we do with the infinity symbol with that figure 8. And so relationships will suffer. So I think I've covered what I wanted to cover with the descriptors for this card, which I'll hold up a little bit closer. And again, this is a card from Rider-Waite-Smith, which is like the foundation of tarot. It's like, for lack of maybe a better way of referencing it, it is like the Bible. If the Bible had a tarot card form, it would be the Rider-Waite-Smith. That is the OG, So whenever you look at getting a deck, especially if you're new to reading tarot, you really want to consider getting a deck based on Rider-Waite-Smith because the meanings and symbols and even sometimes the color usage can carry over. Versus, I'll end this with a card not based on Rider-Waite-Smith, and you can kind of see what I mean. Even though this card that I'll be ending it with is not as bad as other previous tarot teaching moments where I don't see any commonality, and that can be really challenging on a new reader. So here is one, and I really like this image. So if you look behind this person, they have distanced themselves. It looks like they're in like this mountainous region. So they've had to really overcome a lot of obstacles to reach, say, what appears to be a higher elevation. But what I see here, it's kind of like a road of sorts to get to where they currently are. And it would appear to me that they're just very much at work, possibly conserving. So when I see this card, it almost looks like the person is trying to bury these pentacles, kind of like the analogy of saving for a rainy day. But you see all of the hard work behind the central figure, and how he's being very thoughtful as to how he lays each one down into the ground. And we have a lot of mountains in the distance too. So this is somebody really working hard to try to pretty well make ends meet and ideally, provide for themselves or their families, and being very focused and thoughtful with the way they do it. So that is a bit of a deviation from the Rider-Waite, but not terribly so, to where intuitively which I always encourage people new to tarot. And I wish I would have known this when I started reading years ago. At first, I was so obsessed with learning all the meanings of the cards. I was thinking, oh, I got to know all the meanings before I can even do a spread of myself. That is so not true. If you draw a card a day, and I would recommend that any deck you get be one based out of Rider-Waite-Smith. It doesn't have to be the Rider-Waite-Smith. Well, intuitively look at what's going on, how it makes you feel, what's going on in the background, and what they're doing in the card. Then look the card up. That's how you learn. And never think that somehow you're less of a reader because you see something differently than somebody else. Because if we all thought and looked the same, like how boring would that be, seriously? Now with this one, this is from my Lightseers deck. I like the card. What we have here is a lady with a lot going on her table. This reminds me of my books. I will read multiple books at the same time. There's a candle, a plant. It looks like she's got some things here, you know. I don't know. It's kind of hard to kind of tell what's in the one bowl back there. Possibly some, oh, it's a mortar and pestle. Okay. So I was having to think of what that was. But see, she's got an awful lot going on. And it shows how with this, because this is very much like the moon and all its different phases, and how it's never constant. Notice how we only have the one pentacle here. So this person has had to go through many different obstacles and changes just to be, say, accomplished with what they're working on. And I really feel like this central character here has had so much occupying her time that she is determined in order to be successful that she's kind of had to prioritize what she wanted to kind of put her energy into. You see how focused she is looking at that candle. To me, that's a way of meditating. It's just staring at the flame of a candle and just letting your thoughts wander. And she's grounded. Look at her feet. She's barefoot. Both feet are making contact with the ground. So this is somebody being very careful with how they use their energy and making sure they're using their energy on a daily basis to where, yeah, they feel a little fatigued at the end of the day, but not overly so. They're maintaining that balance, you know. But again, it's just being very cognizant of what you've got going on and that you're, you know, investing your energy, which is finite. You only have so much, in a very efficient, productive way instead of getting bogged down with a whole lot of stuff, you know. With this one, her little crow, she has put many pentacles up into that tree branch, very proudly displaying them. I mean, she has worked really hard to find these little shiny guys and hang them up by her home. And see, her little buddies up there want her to go and play with them and maybe go to different places. But she's so focused on what she's doing and she's happy. She's tending to that little guy that she's not really paying them much mind. And that's not a bad thing, you know, because she's where she wants to be. But again, she's going to have to make time for these little guys that her friends and family, or they're going to kind of be kind of resentful, like, why aren't we important anymore? Again, that's the shadow side to the Eight of Pentacles to just be aware of, you know. And then we end it with the card not based in Rider-Waite-Smith, which this is not, I think, as bad as some of the other cards, which has no type of similarity at all. So what we see here is this boy, and he appears to be working very hard on this stone structure, and it's got like all these faces, which to me look very dismal. This card, when I look at it, makes me uncomfortable. I do not like what he's creating. I feel like it's got like a bad energy to it. And it might be symbolic of that shadow side that, yeah, he's working hard, obviously, but his work shows a very dark, sad place. So it might not be a bad idea for this guy to go and get some happiness. I'm not saying that all art has to be happy and cheerful and all this stuff, But I don't know about you guys, but I don't really care for this card. But it does, especially with that hammer and the chisel, it totally compares well with the Rider-Waite-Smith. This is from the Hush Tarot. So this deck takes a lot of artistic liberties because it's not Rider-Waite-Smith based. But again, this card, it's not a failure. I like the energy of this card. Say better though than I do this. And that's just intuitively how I feel when I look at that card. And then I'll hold these guys up for comparison. Again, we have those commonalities with the Pentacles, the focus, the things that are in the background. And this guy. Right, and I think that sums this up. So if you have any questions for me, feel free to leave them in the comments, or feel free to even ask our group, especially people who are new to our group. Our group is actually a pretty phenomenal group. We have people who are just kind of, you know, kind of in the sidelines, just kind of here to be, you know, maybe a little social or just kind of curious. We have people who are new to tarot, and we have some people who've been reading for years with different styles. So if you've been in the group for any amount of time, you'll see that. Like, it's really cool. And the offer's always out there. I have a safe group, and I will not tolerate people being mean to each other in my group. It's a one-time deal and you're gone. So the reason I say that is if you have an interest in reading for others, because I find it to be very rewarding, and I feel like this would be a safe place to grow, feel free to shoot me a message and let me know you would like to do a reading throughout the week, or even the weekly tarot forecast. And basically I would promote you within my group. And I am all about supporting other small businesses, not just my own. So there's other people in our group who have their own small businesses doing tarot. I feel like we're a really unique, colorful community here. So just let me know. The only reason I say is let me know is I don't want you on at the same time as another person. I don't want that whole competitive vibe going on. That is so not the vibe of this group. I just want to make sure that your slot is your slot if you decide to do readings. And I think other than that, I'll post pictures of my new tattoo I'll be getting this evening later so you can see it. And then we will resume our tarot teaching moments on, I believe, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday next week, because I got to work next weekend. So we'll do some more tarot teaching moments on those 3 days. And then, as always, I generally put like a card of the day in the group, you know, or the Wild Oracle Wednesdays. Those are always fun. So, well, if you need anything, let me know. And I hope that you have a good day. And thank you for being present with me and for your time. And I'll see you later. Bye.